It's almost fall. We better get ready for falling for autumn. Hi everyone, I am Cristin, and if you are new to this channel and just joining in our group projects, welcome. We're happy to have you here. We love playtime. So we are going to be working on the Falling for Autumn quilt. It is time. So it's August and it is actually going to be fall like next month. So we need to get started on this. So there's a few things. If you're new, make sure to subscribe to this channel. I believe in the lower right hand corner, it's probably on this side, somewhere there's a subscribe button. Click that, click the little bell, and then you'll get notifications whenever there's a new video up. So the other thing is this is a group project. This isn't just Cristin talking Cristin. Oh, you can see Archer here. So I want you to share photos. So if you have not already, make sure to join our Cristin Creates group on Facebook. All right, that's how we make it a group project. That's how we get to see everybody working on their projects together. So whenever I put out a challenge and say, this is the block we're going to work on, here's how to do it, then I wait and see everyone to start posting their photos. So it is a group project. So make sure to put on your brave suit and join in the fun and post pictures. I know that some are just on YouTube and then you can't really join in that part of it. So if you're on Facebook, please join in the fun. All right, so we are going to start. Let me start by telling you about the stabilizers. If you haven't already watched the prep video, I highly recommend it. It goes over step by step all of the different fabrics and the different products that we use, and the batting. There's a batting guide, a specific cut guide for the batting, and some little notes of things that I recommend a little bit differently than what's in the book. So make sure to watch the prep video if you haven't already. For today's block, we are going to need our light mesh cutaway. This is what we will be using in our hoop on, I think, all of the blocks, but either way, make sure to have your light mesh cutaway. There's also a longer one, the 20-inch, and sometimes we will use that as well if we're doing extra blocks in a hoop, and that will be optional, and I'll tell you all about it when we get there. But you want light mesh cutaway. And by the way, all of these stabilizers are available from our sponsor. Our sponsor is Daylily Fabric Shop. They are sponsoring this entire group project for us, and they've given a great deal. All the information is underneath this video in the video notes with our coupon code and all the information, but stabilizers are included. So make sure, if you haven't already, stock up on your stabilizers. We'll use them throughout this project. So again, light mesh cutaway, that's the one that will go in the hoop. And then fusible backing. This is the one that we use on the back of almost all of our fabrics. All right, definitely our main background fabric. Some people choose to only do it on those, and that's up to you. I actually do it on almost all of my applique pieces, and I'll go over step by step which ones I recommend and which ones I don't. But fusible backing by Kimberbell, again, available from Daylily Fabric Shop. And then we need our batting. So we go through a lot of batting. So Kimberbell Project Batting, this is definitely the one I recommend. I used to use other brands and I swear by this one. So I highly recommend it. And again, it's available from Daylily Fabric Shop, our sponsor for this project. And then today we need wash away topping. All right, wash away topping. Yep, that one. It's a light blue one. It's going to go on the top because we're going to use Velveteen today. So whenever you use Velveteen or like a high pile thing like Minky, anything like that, you want wash away topping. All right, it's just a thin topping that will go over the top. So we do need that for today. All right, so wash away topping. All right, so let's start talking about the block today. So as far as the schedule of blocks, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to start out slow and easy, not scare anyone, but we'll start out just with one block, and this is a good one to start because it is a big one. And so I'm going to do two videos. I'm going to do this one, and then I'm also going to do one for the people that are using a 5x7 or a 6x10 hoop, and I'm going to talk to those that are using the 8x12 as well, because there are parts for this one block. This will be a really good one to start with. So generally I'm going to do one block. Sometimes, like I've already planned, that there will be 2 block days, maybe even more, but will take time. So as far as people falling back, I know that life gets in the way for all of us, believe me too, for sure. So there will be catch-up days. There will be days that are dedicated to everyone catching up. And then keep in mind that I'm still working on the Cuties, the Kimberbell Cuties table toppers, and I'll be doing those the last week of every month. So that whole week you'll be able to catch up on Falling for Autumn, or work on that in tandem with also doing the Cuties table toppers. So there will be time to catch up, and just make sure that you're sharing your photos so that I get an idea of where everybody's at, and try and plan it accordingly. All right. I have a little note here of things that I want to make sure and talk about. So don't forget, I said to subscribe for updates. I'm going to check that off. I talked about stabilizers, the schedule of blocks. We'll see how it goes. Archer's drinking water. Excuse that if you can hear that. Embroidery software. I'm going to bring you to, after we go over what we're going to do today, I'm going to bring you to the computer to show you the software that I'm going to use, just to give you a visual, just because this one is a really big block. And I'm going to show you that you can either use embroidery software. I use Brilliance Essentials, and you can use that to bring in your quilting design and your embroidery design together, or you can do that on your machine. All right, it is not required to use embroidery software. I think it's a lot easier because you can see it on your big monitor, and you can move things around really easily versus the little screen on your embroidery machine. That's my personal preference. So whatever works for you, but almost every video I will show you can do this if you choose, and I'll also tell you where you can go to bypass that information. All right, so that's embroidery software. I mentioned that 5x7 people, I am going to make a separate video, and I'm going to take the time to show you how to do the quilting in the hoop. So just so you know, I'm going to do that one time. I'm not doing it on every block. I don't have the time or resources to do that. But there is a PDF guide on the blocks that are the bigger blocks, and you need to follow that for the embroidery portion. I'm going to show you how to do the quilting portion one time, and then you should be able to run with it after that. But for the actual block itself, you'll need to go for that 5x7 PDF that is on the CD for Falling for Autumn. And catch-up days, I mentioned that there will be catch-up days. Don't worry, don't stress over falling behind. We all have stuff happen, like our machine needs to go into the shop. There will be time. Don't worry, we're not going to jam through this. All right, we're going to work on it together. And in the background, I'm going to be working on the Cuties table toppers. I'm also going to be finishing up our Oh So Delightful project. So there will be time. Don't worry. All right. The batting guide. Don't forget, I mentioned that in the prep video, I went over all of the batting and specific cuts. Some of them I suggest different cuts. So I will include the batting guide in this video when we get to the photo part. And share photos. Really important. Join that Cristin Creates group to share your photos so that we can say, woohoo, you're doing it. That's great. There will be some days that I will make minor adjustments to like personalize my quilt. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And that will be a way to learn a new skill possibly. That's completely optional. You can do it exactly how the book says to do it, and I will give you all of that information, but now and then I may say, hey, let's try this. All right, so that's where we'll really get to be able to see everybody's projects in the Facebook group in Cristin Creates. The prep video, don't forget to watch that. All right, and then I think we're ready to talk about today. So I have this box that I hold my entire packets for, and I don't have this exact box. I bought it at Target from years ago, but I found one on Amazon that is the exact same size. So if you need a box to hold all of your supplies, I will add a link here to the one that I found. A bunch of people have bought that one from Amazon. My link is an affiliate link. It gives me a tiny little kickback to help support our channel. So whenever possible, use my affiliate link. And like I said, it's a box. It's not the exact same one. It's a clear one, but that will hold all your supplies. And then the other thing is the packets. So if you haven't already, you want these packets. They make life so much easier to keep everything organized. I have them right now for OSD, for the Cuties, and for Falling for autumn. Some people have them from other projects too, and there you get a bunch. I think there's like 35 in the package, and I bought 2, so I have them everywhere, and I've got extras, so they're really helpful. I will add a link for the dry erase packets here, and like I said, you get like 35 in a packet. They come from Amazon. They're super quick, and I get a little kickback on that. All right, so if you made your packets after we did our prep video, grab your first one. All right, so mine looks like this. It is the big one. It's that pumpkin is the first one that we're going to work on. And this is a really good one to start with because it can show the different ways of doing the quilting for those with different hoop sizes. All right, so I have mine with I put blue tape on there, and I fold down the edge so that it can come off easily. And then I write the name of the block on it and the page number that it's on. So we're working on Velveteen Pumpkin Patch, and it's on page 11 for all the information. All right, so I'm just going to grab this and grab all of the parts out of here. All right, and I'm going to go to page 11 in our book so that I can tell you all the things. All right, so like I said, this is a big one. It's a really good one for us to start on. So I'm going to start with our main fabric. So our main fabric is a directional fabric. So I want to point that out. I mentioned it in the prep video that there is a guide in our book. All the information's on the prep video, but let me look real quick. It's on page 6 and 7. It shows you the fabric and how to cut it to make sure it's the right direction. And this is your quilt. If your lines are going the opposite way, that's totally fine, right? Your quilt your way, don't worry about it at all. But it does show in case you need to be able to get enough of the fabric cuts out of the fabric. So this one is the directional fabric, or one of the directional fabrics, and it's a big one. So whenever, I always say, make sure to back these with Fusible Stabilizer. You want your main fabric at least to be backed with Fusible Stabilizer, especially these big ones, because they're great at getting puckering. So you want to make sure to not get puckering on your beautiful quilt. All right, so back it with Fusible Stabilizer. Like I said, I'm using the Kimberbell project batting, or sorry, not the project batting, the Fusible backing, this one. All right, on the back of my fabric. All right, so on this one, this is the only one we're going to back. The other ones are Velveteen, and I'll show you those in just a minute, but we're not going to back those. So this is our main fabric, and we are going to start with this at 14.5 by 8.5. So it's this way, the long way, 14.5 by 8.5 for this large first block, okay? 14.5 by 8.5 backed with Fusible Stabilizer. That is our main fabric. And like I said, it's a directional fabric. All right, and then let's go over all of the pieces. So there are five different Velveteen fabrics, all right? And these came in that embellishment kit for Kimberbell. That's also from our sponsor, Daylily Fabric Shop. So all of these came in that embellishment kit, and there's different ones, different sizes, so I'm just going to go over each one. So the first one is Blush Velveteen for Pumpkin 1. So the pumpkins are numbered, but they're not actually put down in that direction, like they're not 1 through 5 and then they're going to stitch that way, but I'm going to list them out in that way since they're numbered. But follow the guide. I'm going to have photos of every single step of the project, and from there you'll be able to see which ones go where. All right, so the first one is Blush. So it's a very light, like mauvish color, almost very light though. And this one, Blush Velveteen for Pumpkin 1, we're going to start with this at 3.5 by 3.5. So all of them start bigger. We'll cut them down. These are going to be the applique pieces, so we'll cut them down. But even that main fabric, that big main fabric, we're going to cut this down at the end too. So just so you know, that's why we start it. It's always about 2 inches larger than the final cut size. So that will help us to center it and all of that, and it doesn't have to be exactly perfect because there is wiggle room on there. All right, so again, Pumpkin 1, Blush Velveteen in 3.5 by 3.5, and you don't want to back Velveteen, you want to leave it just as it is. All right, and we're going to put that topping on the top for extra stabilization on these. So 3.5 by 3.5 for Pumpkin 1, Blush Velveteen. And then number 2 is called Flax. So Flax Velveteen. So it is a tan colored, a light tan, just basically light tan. All right, think of like flaxseed, I guess, but I think flaxseed's a little darker. But anyway, tan, but it's called Flax. And this is for Pumpkin 2 Velveteen. And this one is 4x4. We're going to start with this one at 4x4. All right, and again, don't back it, leave it as is. This is Velveteen. All right, and can you see there's like all these little pieces? We'll have to clean that up when we get started, but it loves to get all the little pieces from each of the different velveteens. So this one is number 3. So Pumpkin 3 is Orange Spice Velveteen, and this one we're going to have at 3.5 by 3.5. All right, 3.5 by 3.5 for Pumpkin 3 Orange Spice, and again, don't back it with Fusible Stabilizer. Leave it as is. And then number 4 is Antique White. This one we definitely have to clean up. There's little pieces of orange and so forth. All right, so Antique White Velveteen for Pumpkin 4, and we're going to start with this one at 3x3. I think I didn't cut it. It looks like mine's a little bit bigger, and I think it just came like this, and I left it as is because we don't need it for anything else. So 3x3 for Antique White. This is for Pumpkin 4. And don't back it with anything. All right, and then the last one, number 5, is Slate Gray for Pumpkin 5. Isn't that pretty? Soft too. So I think there's a, no, it feels like it can go either way. Anyway, so I was thinking that there might be nap, is that what it's called? I'm not sure, where it can be softer one direction versus the other. But it feels like it's kind of soft either way. But you could feel it before you put it down on your applique piece to make sure that it's going the right direction. Anyway, Slate Gray Velveteen, this is for Pumpkin 5, and this one we want 4x4. All right, large one 4x4, and don't back it with Fusible Stabilizer. All right, those are all of the Velveteen pieces, and then we have Flexifoam. So we're going to have Flexifoam for this, all my little Velveteen. All right, for the Flexifoam, this one we're going to have at 9.5 by 5. 9.5 by 5 for the Flexifoam, okay? I think we put this down before everything else except for that main fabric, but like I said, I will show you everything in step by step, don't worry. 9.5 by 5 for the Flexifoam, and then don't forget I said that we need wash away topping for this one. All right, and it says that we need a piece that's 10.5 by 6. That's nice. I didn't know that they'll give us the size on that. So 10.5 by 6 of the wash away topping. I'm just gonna put it down over the top and cut it accordingly, but 10.5 by 6 will give you plenty of room. All right, and then fusible backing on that main fabric. When we load our quilting design, so actually let's talk about the batting. Whenever we do our quilting, we use batting. It's part of the process of quilting in the hoop. So when we quilt in the hoop, for all of those newbies that are just starting this as their first project, there's 5 steps to the quilting. All right, the first one is the placement of the batting. So a placement stitch of where we're going to put the batting. And then we put down our batting, and number 2 is the tack down stitch of the batting. And then number 3 is the placement stitch for that main fabric, that big main fabric, placement stitch, and then we'll put that main fabric down, and then we'll tack it down as number 4. The 4th part of the quilting is the tack down stitch. And then the 5th part is the actual quilting design. All right, so sometimes you might have to move the quilting design or move the embroidery to fit on the quilting design. We're not doing any of that today. It's going to be centered, and when we do, or if we do, I'm not sure, I will tell you, but for today it's going to be centered, so you won't even have to do anything. It will automatically come up in your machine that way. So you would load up the quilting design, it will be centered in your hoop, and then we will bring in the embroidery design, and that will be centered on top of the quilting design. All right, so that's all done. It will be centered in the hoop, and I will go over the thread colors and you can choose your own, of course, but I'm gonna share photos of everything that I choose of colors from our thread kit. I didn't bring that over, but there's a thread kit for Falling for Autumn. It's available from our sponsor, Daylily Fabric Shop. And so I'm going to use that on everything. So I will share photos of which colors that I'm using and put a little text on there saying everything. All right, so Our batting is going to be 13 by 7 because we're going to quilt this in the hoop. So our batting is 13 by 7, a big piece of batting. All right, 13 by 7. And like I said, this is part of the quilting design. So that first thing, the placement stitch for our batting, then we put our batting down and we tack it down, and then we will trim it from there. All right, so batting 13 by 7 for our block today. All right. And one thing I want to say is if you have a smaller hoop, 5 by 7, 6 by 10, even an 8 by 12, I'm going to make a separate tutorial for those. But I'll tell you right now, a 5 by 7 hoop, you'll need to do 3 hoopings of a 4 by 6 quilting design to be able to get the quilting. And then 6 by 10, probably the same thing. You probably would want to do the 3 hoopings. If you have an 8 by 12, so let me tell you, our quilting design, let me just tell you this. So our quilting design for today, for this pumpkin block, the Velveteen pumpkin patch block, our quilting design is Weather 4. This is in the bundle. There is a bundle of the quilting designs, and I'm going to use those for all of this project, and I'll always tell you which ones, but there's a bundle, and there's a link under this video that supports our sponsor. So our sponsor is Daylily Fabric Shop. There's a link under this video that says if you're going to purchase the quilting designs, please use this affiliate link. You click on that and it takes you to Kimberbell. And then from there, you would just type in Falling for Autumn and you'll find the bundle very easily. All right, so that bundle, we're going to use Weather 4 today. And like I said, it's in that bundle. Weather 4, and we're using a 6 by 12 quilting design in vertical. 6 by 12 vertical Weather 4. All right, so that's a big quilting design. So you might think with a 6 by 12, oh, I can just use my 8 by 12 hoop. Well, keep in mind, and I will show you this, but the 8 by 12 hoop is actually not going to fit a 6 by 12 quilting design because that last step, the third and the fourth steps of the quilting design, the placement and tack down of the main fabric, those are going to be a 1/2 inch bigger so that we have that 1/4 inch seam allowance, okay? So that means that this design is actually 6.5 by 12.5, and it's not going to fit in your 8 by 12 hoop. You can take out those steps 3 and 4, and I'll go over more of that in the video for those using a smaller hoop, but you might think with an 8 by 12 it's not really a smaller hoop, but for this quilting design, it won't fit. You can take out steps 3 and 4 and just tape down your main fabric. That will work fine. And then you still may have to shrink it just a tiny bit because like I know the brother hoop is 7.87 by something. It's not actually 8 by 12. So even then you may have to shrink it just a bit, and that's totally fine. It's not going to bother anything. All right, so we have all of our fabrics. We have our batting. We have the velveteen that we're not going to stabilize, and our wash away topping. We have the quilting design that we are going to center in the hoop. And like I said, I'm going to bring you over to the computer just to show you what that's going to look like. And you absolutely can do that on your embroidery machine. That's fine. We are going to also use, so there's a couple other things, important things, and I'll show you when we get there too. But the last step, we're not going to stitch that last step. I'm going to tell you to just bypass it. It's just for placement purposes. So I will tell you when we get there, don't stitch this last step. And then we are going to use our pop rulers. So if you haven't invested in the pop rulers, I highly recommend it. Our sponsor does have these available, but I'm going to show you, I'm going to use 2 of the pop rulers, and we're going to cut on the outer edge since our block is such a big one. So I'm going to show you how to do that. That won't be a problem, but it does make it a lot easier if you've got the pop rollers, in my opinion. All right, so if you haven't invested in those, I recommend it. And I have this great, I think the seller that I bought them from has sold out of them, but I have this little wood block that fits them perfectly. I love that. So I'll try and find a replacement because I'm pretty sure the one that I bought them from, they sold out. But I will try and find a replacement for the wood block that holds all of the orange pop rollers and add a link for you from Amazon if I'm able to find that. So because that works really great to have them all held together like that. So outer edge we're going to cut on, and that's it. So we're only going to work on that one block today. Don't forget to share photos in the group, in the Cristin Creates group on Facebook, so that I know when everybody is all caught up with today's challenge. and then we'll know to proceed with more. So are you ready? Are you excited? Oh my gosh, it's a lot of information, right? The first one is always a lot, but I'm pretty excited. We're gonna have a great time, I promise, and don't stress over it. We'll do it step by step together, group project. Hi everyone, so I am going to give a visual and a tutorial on using a smaller hoop. So I'm going to go over all of them. I used a 9x14, so all the ones that are smaller than that. So I'm going to start with the 8x12 and then talk about the 8x8, then 6x10, and then 5x7. But I'm going to touch on all of them. So I'm going to open up Embellishment Essentials to give you a visual. All right, so this is the desired outcome right here. All right, and this is using my 9x14 hoop. You can see it down here on the bottom, 9x14 hoop. So for those using a smaller hoop, so let me go ahead and I'll do a file new page. And I'm going to use my 8x12 hoop. So I'm going to go to preferences and choose my 8x12 hoop and say okay. And then I'm going to go up to this compass button and hit H for hoop. All right, so you can see down here at the bottom, I'm on my 8x12 hoop. My 8x12 hoop is not really 8x12. It's 7 7/8 by 11 13/16. So depending on your brand of hoop, mine is a brother hoop. So that's my size. So I will have to keep that in mind also if I want a 12-inch outcome. So let me go ahead and I'm going to bring in the quilting design. So I'm going to go to merge stitch file, and we're using Weather 4. I used Paz for my machine, and we want a 6x12, was it? Yep, 6x12 in a vertical. So I'm going to bring that in. Let's see here, 6x10, 6x12 vertical right there. All right, so if I double click on that, notice that my hoop turns red. It says up, it does not fit. And it also tells me that the design is 12.5 inches, which I know that. We've talked about that before. So in case you haven't heard me talk about that before, let me show you real quick. If I hit this plus sign, I can see the 5 steps of the quilting. So step 1 and 2, you can see down here at the bottom, those are both 6x12. That's the placement and tack down of the batting. Here's when it turns bigger. So step 3 and step 4, those are both 6.5 by 12.5, and that is the placement and tack down of the main fabric. Those are not required. You do not have to use those. You can use tape to hold it in place. I'm just going to click this H, make sure I'm seeing everything. All right. I'm going to zoom out so you can see. So see how it's over the hoop because of that 12.5. So like I said, that is the placement and tack down of the main fabric. And you can visualize, you'll see the batting there, and you know that it's going to be a 1/4 inch over that. So you can put your main fabric centered over the batting and then tape it in place. You don't have to use the placement and tack down of the main fabric. So steps 3 and 4. So watch, if I click on steps 3 and 4, I'm clicking to the right and then dragging over to the left, and I'm clicking on steps 1, 3 and 1, 4. And then if I hit delete on my keyboard, now it will fit in a 6x12. It's a 6x12 design. It still does not fit in my 8x12 hoop because, like you can see here, my hoop size is a little bit smaller. It's 11 13/16, so a little bit more than 11 3/4. So then I can just reduce it a bit. I'm going to go to compass so that I can see it all. All right, so I believe there was a fit to hoop, if I recall. Let me see if I can find that. I haven't used that in a while. Right there. So fit to hoop right there. If I click that, it's going to change the size to fit within my hoop. Your hoop may be a different size if you're using other than a brother and baby lock. So my size is for a brother and baby lock. So I'm going to click this fit to hoop and see that red went away. And now the design is just a little bit smaller. No one is going to notice that your quilting design is the tiniest bit smaller, but that's how to make it work for an 8x12 hoop with just doing one hooping. You don't have to do multiple hoopings. You can do this in one hooping using an 8x12. All right, so that's for 8x12. That's how to make it work. Now I'm going to go to File, New Page, and I'm on my 8x12 hoop still. I'm going to go to this Preferences folder, and I'm going to click on my 8x8 hoop for those that have an 8x8 hoop as their biggest hoop. So this is actually very easy. You will have to do 2 hoopings, but you would, since our quilting design is 6x12, you can do 2 hoopings that are 6x6. So I'm going to show how to do that. And actually, let me show you. Let's see, I have to think about this. So the fabric is long, so you're going to, because it is a horizontal and vertical design, and in the directions it says to use a vertical design, but I believe you'll need to use a horizontal if you're using a 6x6 to be able to have it line up right. So I'm going to do this. So I'm on my 8x8. I'm actually going to change to my 9x14 to give a visual of both hoopings. All right, so I'm going to say 9x14, say okay, go up to this compass button and click H, and then I'm going to go to merge stitch file, and I'm going to bring in that quilting design in a 6x6 twice so that you can see it and see how it will line up. And I'll show the actual technique of how to do it. I'm going to do that on the 4x6 part, but the technique will be the same. All right, so 6x6 weather 4, there's the horizontal and there's the vertical. Let me think here, because the design is going to have to go this way, so we're going to have to use the vertical. So for this one, it is vertical. My mistake. I was thinking you would have to use horizontal, but vertical will work. So I'm going to click on the vertical, and then I'm going to just take this and I'm going to move it up to where the placement of the batting, I'm going to center it. All right, so this inner line is the placement and tack down of the batting, and this outer line is the placement and tack down of the main fabric. And you will use those, but they'll be underneath on the stabilizers, whereas we're going to line them up. And like I said, I'll show you how to do that. But for now, it's just to get a visual. So that's the first hooping. If I say Control C to copy that and Control V like victory, then I can move that design. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it right up on that center guide, even though there will be a little overlap, because again, that's the placement and tack down of the main fabric, which will be on your stabilizer. It's not going to be on your fabric. All right. So there's what it will look like. So you can see it will be a vertical design. Here's that original. All right, so you can see the leaves and the wind going sideways. And so it would be the same thing. So this is what it would look like if you're doing two hoopings in an 8x8 hoop. So a 6x6 design in an 8x8 hoop will fit perfectly, no problem whatsoever. All right, and you will do two of them. And like I said, I'll show you how to do that in just a moment, but I wanted to give you a visual of what that will look like. Using an 8x8 hoop, you need to do two hoopings of a 6x6 quilting design. All right, so then we did 8x12, 8x8, so now I'm going to show you in a 5x7 hoop. All right, so I'm going to go to File, New Page, and I'm going to show you, I've already taken a look at it, so I'm just going to show you real quick. If let's see, I'll bring in a 5x7. It's actually a 4x6. Sorry. So we're going to use our 5x7 hoop. Let me change that first. So right now I'm on my 9x14 hoop. I'm going to go ahead and change this to my 5x7 hoop to give you that visual. Say OK. And I'm going to go to this compass button and H just so it'll zoom into the hoop. All right. So we've got the long part here, or I'm sorry, the short part up at the top and the long part down, imagining a 5x7 hoop. But our fabric is going to be turned. So I just want to show you. If I go to merge stitch file and I bring in the 4x6 quilting design. So let's see. 4x6 right there. All right, so there's the horizontal and there's the vertical. In the directions it says that we are using the vertical design, but that won't work on this one. So you can imagine, so take a look right here. So see how this is the vertical design and it's the long way. So if you were to do 4x6, 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 then it would work, but we're not. You would have to have an 18-inch piece of fabric, and that's not how we're doing it. We're going to do 4x6, 4x6, 4x6. So we do need the horizontal version, not the vertical version like it says in the book. All right, so let me double click on that so you can see it. Now, I'm going to show you, I already put them together so you could see what that will look like. So here in this one, this is, see, look at, there's that design. It's turned sideways, of course, because our fabric is going to be. But if you look at it here, I've got these three lined up and you can see that it's going the wrong way. This is using the vertical, all right? So if we did the vertical, it's going to be it's going to look like they're stacked instead of having the wind going this way, if that makes sense. All right, here's the original. This is what we want it to look like, is to have this, the wind going straight across, if that makes sense. All right, so this isn't the look we want. So we know we don't want to use the vertical one. We want to use the horizontal one, which is the one that I have here, horizontal. And then here I've already laid them out so that you can see. Again, there is that overlap here, and that's okay because that's going to be on our stabilizer. It's not going to be on our fabric. So just imagine those taken away. All right, and then we're going to have that weather and leaves design going sideways on our long piece of fabric. All right, so I'm hoping that that will give you a visual. We do, if you're using a 5x7 hoop, then you do want to do 3 hoopings of a 4x6 design. All right, and I just realized I bypassed the 6x10, so let me do that real quick. Sorry about that. All right, so file, new page, and I am going to open a 6x10 hoop. Just to give you a visual. So we're on our 6x10 hoop. I'm going to click this compass button to zoom into the hoop. Now the 6x10 is a little bit trickier because you could do, if you don't have an 8x8 hoop and your biggest hoop is a 6x10, you could do just like what I said on the 8x8 hoop. You could do a 6x6 design, but again, it's not going to fit in your 6x10 hoop. All right, so let me just show you real quick here. So I'm going to go to merge stitch file. I'm going to bring in that 6x6 quilting design right there, and we can use the vertical one on this. All right, so see, it's turned red. It says it doesn't fit because our hoop is 6 inches. It's 6 5/16 inches, but the design is 6.5 inches. All right, so it does not fit, but just like I said on the 8x12, you can easily take out the parts that are too big, which is step 3 and step 4. You can see that those are the parts that go over the hoop. All right, so if you click on those, delete them. I'm not sure if your machine, if you're not using Embrilliance Essentials or another embroidery software, if you bring this to your machine, my machine says I can't do it and it has a little fit if it's over the hoop. I've heard that there are some machines that will let you just bypass it, bypass the part that's too large. I think maybe Bernina, but I'm totally guessing on that. Mine doesn't. You put the hoop in and it says, nope, can't do it. So mine doesn't let you do that. There may be a way in the settings to be able to take those out on your machine. I haven't found that, but there may be a way. On software, it's super easy. You just click on it and delete it. All right, so that's up to you how you figure out whether it'll work for your machine or how to make it work for your machine. But again, you have to take out steps 3 and 4, and then it fits. It's a 6x6 design in a 6 5/16 hoop, so that works. All right, so you would just do 2 of these, not in your 6x10 hoop, obviously. Sorry, now they're doing landscaping, so I gotta talk real quick. You would need to do 2 hooping. So I'm going to bring you over to the table and show you on felt how to make that work. Okay everyone, so I have a piece of felt that is exactly 14.5 by 8.5, just like our regular fabric. Okay, so this is going to be my pretend fabric. If you have the clear blue tiles, that is the easiest way. All right, if you don't know how to use your clear blue tiles, I do have a tutorial, an entire series on the clear blue tiles, and the last step of the video that we did will show you exactly how to use the tiles. But basically real simple. I would fold the fabric in half, and from there you can use that as your guide to put your tiles on. All right, and you would do just like usual, center, you draw your center marks and also around the edges, so that then you can line up the second hooping same way and the third hooping, and then you would bring it over to your machine and start from that center point that you drew. All right, that's the easiest way, is using clear blue tiles. If you don't have clear blue tiles, it can still be done, absolutely. All right, so again, I'm going to start by folding my fabric in half really well. I think actually I'll do it on this side because there's a little mark on the back there. All right, so from there, I'm going to use a water-soluble pen. On your fabric will be fine. All right, and just draw a center mark that way, and then another center mark this way. Another way that you could do it is with your iron. That's what I usually did before I got a machine that had a bigger hoop, is I would use my iron to create a fold that I could see easily. But using a marker that will, a water-soluble marker will work as well. Either way, whatever works for you. And I have quite a few of these. I've got the Kimberbell one, I think this is a Dritz one, I don't recall, and then Frixion, something like that. Those all work fine. All right, so we have our center mark. Hopefully you can see this okay. So from here, what I'm going to do is I am going to start, I'm going to use my 5x7 hoop. I'm just using tearaway because I'm just going to throw this felt away when I'm done. It's just for an example for you. I'm going to do all 3 hoopings so that you can see how that's done. But I'm just going to start by bringing in my 5x7 design with my 5x7 hoop, and I'm going to put my needle right over that center mark that I did, and I'm going to do my first 4x6 quilting. Don't forget, we need to use the horizontal for 4x6. If you are doing the 6x6 design in either a 6x10 hoop or an 8x12 hoop like I showed on the software, you can use the vertical version. It doesn't matter. It just matters how you equate your fabric, because our fabric is going to have the, if you're doing the 6x6 version, you would do one on this side and one on this side, and the technique that I'm going to show you will work the same. All right, so I'm going to get started. I'm going to bring this over to the machine and do my placement and tack down and come back and show you some more. By the way, if you are using a 5x7 hoop, you're going to want 3 pieces of batting, one for each hooping, and these are going to be 5x7, each one of your batting, 5x7. If you're doing the 6x6 design in either a 6x10 or an 8x12 hoop, you would need 2 pieces of batting that are 7x7. All right, once we have our placement for the main fabric, we've got our batting already trimmed away, and now our placement stitch for the main fabric. We're going to lay our main fabric down, and you're just going to want to center it as best as you can. So here is our center mark, and I line it up with this. All right, so the little notches on the hoop, and then you can do it also from here. Hard to do one-handed, sorry. So from here you can see that it lines up with that notch, and it doesn't have to be super duper exact because we do have 2 inches of extra rim on either side, but you want it as straight as possible so that the other 2 hoopings will be straight and lined up as very best you can with the notches on your hoop. All right. And notice the orientation of the fabric. Okay, if you did, we're using the horizontal design. If you did the vertical design, then you would need to have your fabric turned the opposite way so that it's correct. Right now I've got it this way. You can see that the length is horizontal. So I will have my first hooping here and then a second and third hoopings on each side. All right. One other thing is that now we have that tack down stitch, and the tack down stitch would normally be to put in place of here, and you can use it on this first one. I guess you could use it on all three, but it kind of would get in the way. The easiest would be to not. And for me, this felt is going to stick in place very well against the batting. You could tape it in place. You could, like I said, you can use that tack down stitch if you want, but it will get in the way of the quilting later. So it's up to you. You can cut it out after using it. After each hooping, either way will work. I think I'm just going to bypass it personally. All right, so once you have your first quilting, your first hooping done, remove it from the hoop, cut away the excess stabilizer as close to the batting tack down line as possible. All right, it'll look like this. Sorry for the glare. The sun is setting. So anyway, have it like that, and then we're going to get ready for our second hooping. So hoop your next hooping, and we'll go from there. All right, so once you have your batting down and trimmed, and then we have our placement stitch for our main fabric, we are going to take our first hooping that we completed, and we are going to fold it at the point. All right, this is not easy to try and figure out where to put it so you can see it well. So we're going to fold back the felt, or I'm sorry, yours is going to be fabric. Fold it back until you can see that batting placement. All right, the batting placement and tack down right there. And we're going to take that and we're going to line it up with the batting of the second hooping. All right, you can see the edge. You want to use the edge of the batting. All right, line that up with the batting that we just did on our second hooping. Make sure that it lines up at the top and right up against the edge and down at the bottom. All right, perfectly. And then once you have that, we're just going to fold back that fabric and then tape it in place. I don't recommend doing the tack down stitch because it will go over our first hooping most likely, and so I think it's better to just run it, run the quilting design. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and bypass the next step and go to the quilting. All right, and when that is done, you have your two hoopings. Sorry, hard to fit it all in one showing, but two hoopings, and we'll do one more. So take it out of the hoop and cut away the excess stabilizer and get ready for the third hooping. All right, so we have our first two hoopings done. We're going to do the third hooping. So same thing as before. We're going to fold back that fabric, the main fabric, till we can see the batting of the first hooping, the one in the center. All right, and we're going to take that and line it up on the left side. So your instinct is probably to do it this way because that's easier for you, but then your quilting will not line up. So don't take the easy way. Do it on the left side, or whichever side you didn't already do, and line up that batting exactly along the line of the previous batting at the top and the bottom. All right, and when you have it in place, fold it back under the needle, tape in place, and start quilting. I forgot to mention, don't do that tack down stitch because it will go over the quilting. I am going to just cut that, bypass that step 4 of the quilting. Oh, because I didn't do, I should have done the placement stitch here, which really doesn't matter, but we're just lining it up. So I'm going to bypass 3 and 4 and go to the quilting. All right. Steps 3 and 4 are the placement and tack down of the main fabric, but we're just lining it up with our batting, so it really doesn't matter. Alright, and then we'll unhoop this and cut away the excess stabilizer, and I'll show you pictures of the outcome. Alright, so here is the 3 hoopings of the 4x6, and look at the back. Perfection. So see how easy it is to line up using the batting to get this exactly straight, perfectly done. Very easy. Now just a reminder, if you are using a 6x10 hoop or an 8x8 hoop, you would do 2 hoopings of 6x6. So from that center mark, you would do 1 over here and 1 over here. Similar, same technique that we did of the 4x6. All right, anything else? You don't need to use those steps 3 and 4. You can bypass them because we're really just lining it up with the batting. You definitely don't want to use step 4 because it will go over the quilting. Your tack down line of your main fabric, it will go over the quilting you already did, which you can take out. It's a basting stitch, but it's easier if you just bypass it or delete steps 3 and 4 using embroidery software like I showed earlier. All right, easy to do using a 5x7 hoop, a 6x10 hoop, 8x8 hoop, or 8x12 hoop. All ways have been talked about. Can't wait to see your project. I get a lot of people asking how to make a donation to Cristin Creates to help this YouTube channel. I will add a link on PayPal. That you can also use Venmo. Both of the links are underneath this video, and it's very appreciative. Very appreciated for sure. It really helps to offset the cost. There's a lot of costs involved with doing these tutorials, and all of the kickbacks from YouTube with violations and so on and so forth. A lot of time goes into these videos. So if you want to make a donation to this channel, I'm super appreciative. It's totally optional, of course. Thank you. All right, don't forget. So when we first announced this project, we did an announcement, and then we did a present day. So on present day, when Daylily Fabric Shop came to my house and brought supplies, and we did that whole fun video about present day unboxing, all of that. So I started my goal on that day. That was like June 26th, I think. And now the supplies have all come in, and hopefully you've all created a goal. I really, really like that the Cristin Creates team, we all create a goal for each project, and I love hearing about your goal. So my goal, like I said, it started back at the end of June, and I've worked it every day since. So I am super focused on this goal. I never create that. I always have lots of different goal ideas, and I don't think I've ever used this one before. This one is actually weight loss for me. That's what I'm working on for my goal, and it's a hard one for me because I'm on that cancer blocker pill, and so my body tries to just hold on to everything, and weight loss is difficult, right? And vulnerable, to put it out there. No, so anyway, so I worked it really hard. And so I'm going to tell you, whenever I do a video, I'm going to tell you where I'm at, how I'm doing with my goal, and I want you to do the same, whatever your goal is. So like I said, mine was weight loss, and I started it way back at present day is when I started my goal, even though we had to take a break and work on the cuties and finish up Oh So Delightful and different projects, and we're finally starting. So I work really hard on it. I have not had sugar, I think it's like 36 or 37 days now. I had one day that I took off. My birthday was just a few days ago, and I actually had a caramel apple for my birthday. Other than that, I haven't had any sugar, any bad stuff, any junk food, like nothing in like 36 days or something like that. I don't remember exactly how many, but it's about that. So I'm really working it. I'm trying really hard, and I'm working out almost every day. I stop eating. So here's a big thing. Have you heard about, what do they call it? Intermittent fasting. So if you stop eating by a certain time, and then you don't eat again until the next day at a certain time. So like I stop eating by 9 p.m. every night, sometimes as early as 7 p.m., but always by 9 p.m. no matter what. Make sure to get my dinner in before 9 p.m. And then I don't eat again until I get up the next morning and take my dog for a walk and the whole bit. And so probably 9, maybe even 10 the next day. So 12 hours, at least 12 hours of intermittent fasting. And it really makes a difference. I've read a lot about it, and they say that it's really good for your body and really good to boost your metabolism and to work it and all of that. So I've been doing that, and it really has helped me. Something is helping. So definitely not eating sugar, working out a lot, and getting lots of walks in, and intermittent fasting. So as of this morning, I have lost exactly 10.0 pounds. 10 pounds. I'm really proud of that. So I want to hear how you're doing with your goal. Keep it up if you're working it. And if you didn't start back when you got your supplies, that's okay. Start now, right? Just be an inspiration. I want to hear about it. I want to hear how you're doing with your goal and what you're doing to work toward that goal. So like my workouts, I went and I hiked Table Rock this morning, which is this monster hill. I mean, it is painful. It's 900 feet of climbing in like 3 miles, 3.39 miles, something like that. It's a lot. Like you're just way uphill, really hard. Get your heart rate going super hard. So I've been working hard, and then I run on my treadmill. Last night I did a workout in Yosemite. It was pretty cool with this trainer, Hannah Edens, who just kicks your butt. Oh my gosh, she works you hard. And so I did this incline run up with her, and then I did a strength training. And by the way, if you haven't incorporated weight training into your workouts, that really helps push the scale. It really changes your body. So I've been working really hard on incorporating weight training in, and I'm like a wimp, right? I used to be strong. I'm not anymore, but so I'm doing what I can, and that's all we can ask, right? So tell me, how are you doing with your goal? I want to hear about it. And I always get questions about my shirt, so I will always include information. This one says, quilting with friends will keep you in stitches. It is a design from Designs by Juju. I will add a link underneath this video down at the very bottom. So I've shown you lots of times the information underneath this video, and at the very bottom it'll say a direct link of where you can get the shirt, so that, or the design. So the design is from Designs by Juju. The shirt is from Amazon, and it's one of my favorites. There's a lot of colors that it comes in, and it's just a really nice one for stitching on. So the shirt itself is from Amazon. If I have additional links, I have a very specific amount that I'm allowed to link to, but if I have one left, I'll put it up here. If not, it is underneath the video always. So every time that I do a video, if I'm wearing an embroidered shirt, I will give you that link information underneath. So that this is a fun one from Designs by Juju, and it's perfect for starting our group project together.